welcome to yet another episode of the Disruption Talks, where we invite top experts to discuss digital acceleration, winning strategies, innovation, and scaling products. My name is Barbara Rybicka. I'm consulting director at Netguru, and today we're going to try to answer an important question. Can you deliver anything in 30 minutes? We're going to discuss the ins and outs of quick commerce with no one else but the Chief Product Officer at Snoonu, Matthew Neff. Hello, Matthew.
Hey, it's great to be here.
Great having you. How are you today? How is your day on your side?
It's good. It's finally starting to cool off a little bit in Doha. So the evenings are actually down to low 30s now. So you can start going outside and enjoying the city a little bit more. So it's starting to go into the beautiful season here.
Okay, brilliant. And Matthew, we're going to discuss number of trends in quick commerce industry today, from hyperlocal delivery, ultra fast fulfillment, integration of AI and data analytics, and expansion into new categories. However, I'd like first of all to let the audience get to know you a little bit better. And I was wondering if we can start by sharing a little bit more about your journey and how you became the Chief Product Officer at Snoonu.
Yeah, so it's been I guess an interesting path to end up here. That I spent the first 9 years of my career in a very traditional telecom environment. So it was the type of IT where you work with a big vendor like Oracle or Microsoft or one of those, and then you're bringing their system in, you're configuring it, integrating it into your environment. And in the telecom world, it's like people stay with the company for 30 years. That's their entire career. I was 9 years in and sort of looking at my career and going, do I want to do this for the next 20 something years? And then an opportunity popped up with Skip the Dishes, which was the leading on-demand food delivery player in Canada at the time. I had some friends who were working for the company. I was in Winnipeg, where they're headquartered, went out for dinner with a couple of them, and they convinced me to go on a tour of Skip. And I had no idea what job I was interviewing for. I'd been in tech basically the last 9 years and doing well in the telecom space. So they got me to come back out the next weekend. I went on a tour of the company. I saw the operations and everything they were doing. And once I met the product and tech team, that's when I got sold on the opportunity, because I was starting to have this feeling, and some people in the telecom space were even having this feeling of companies are going to go back to building their own software, because there's so many interesting things that you can do with your data when you own it. And there's so many interesting processes when you kind of own the code on top of that data that you can start to unlock. So when I saw them doing this, of building their own software, they were doing much more innovative things, moving way faster. I was very nervous to take the job, but I ended up joining them in a product role. Then it was like this crazy, I could go into tons of stories about there, but it was a little over 4 years. We grew the company like 700%. We were acquired by Just Eat. We ended up launching our delivery technology in a bunch of their markets. Then we had this merger with Takeaway and with Grubhub in the US. And it was at that time that I sort of looked at everything that was coming up for the next several years. And it was very much going to be like an integration project of all these platforms. And being like a product person at heart, I love to build things. I love to be involved in new ideas, using new technology. So an opportunity came up with Rappi in Latin America. So I spent 2.5 years with them, leading the basically customer restaurant vertical. And then this opportunity came up with Snoonu, where it was just a recruiter reached out to me, and I didn't take the first thing very serious. And I actually need to give my wife so much credit for like helping to clear all the objections of making the decision to move from, we were living in Vancouver in Canada at the time, to basically relocate ourselves and move our lives to Doha. But first thing was like, oh, it's Doha, it's technology, it's not going to be anything that exciting. And then I downloaded the app and started to use it and was like, wow, they're actually doing some innovative things that are a lot ahead of what I've seen in Canada or North America. They're doing this multi-vertical value proposition that's really interesting. So that hurdle was cleared. Then I talked to my wife about like, oh, we wouldn't actually move our lives to Doha, would we? And she was the one who was very supportive of like, no. And I was, looking at countries that you could travel to before we were together as like, as a woman, Doha actually always comes up on the list because it's one of the safest places in the world. And it's a very safe visit and travel to. So she knew more about the country than I did at that point. Then once I met the team here, that's when I was sold on the opportunity. Hamad has very big, ambitious visions for where the company can go. The executive team, everybody gets along, supports each other very well. The product team themselves, when I met them, they're like very young, talented, ambitious people. And then once all of that fell into place, I ended up moving at the beginning of this year to Doha, and I'm so happy with the opportunity, and it's been a great experience. So I probably gave way more details than you need, but it's been, in some way, I've touched 34 countries now in the food delivery space. All of them sort of have their unique things and unique value prop, and Doha's no different, and probably one of the most unique ones in the world that I've seen.
Okay, brilliant. There's just so many things that I'd like to deep dive to in what you described. And I think we're gonna do that in various points of this conversation. So thank you very much for sharing that. And how does your day-to-day look like in your role?
So I guess it depends on the time of year, sort of what phase we're in the cycle, because we've gone through the activity of laying out a 3-year vision of where we want to be. We have a 1-year plan, and then each quarter we try and bring a lot of clarity to what are we actually going to build in the next 3 months. So depending on the time of year and where we are in the cycle, my day-to-day looks a bit different. But on an average day, really, we know the things that we're going to build over the next 3 months, and it's collaborating and working with all the product teams and the engineering teams on trying to figure out how we make that new feature, that new idea, the best that we can. And then because we are an ultra app, I find a lot of the time my role is connecting the dots between the different verticals and making sure if we're going to build something in our marketplace or in our grocery business or in our restaurant business that it's going to feel like one app to the consumer. So I treat myself as the ultimate advocate for the customer, for the merchants, or for the drivers in all the meetings to make sure that the decisions we make are decisions that are going to make their lives better. So that's my day to day. I'll usually come in the morning, look at the metrics, and then I've usually got a bunch of things lined up for the next biggest features that we're working on to work and collaborate with the team on what those are going to look like.
Okay, and you've already mentioned various parts of your day-to-day and various parts of business. However, for those who may not be that familiar, how would you describe the Snoonu's mission?
Great question. That when we look at it, we're really building an ultra app or a super app when you look at it, and our mission is basically to just bring services to the lives of our customers or the people in Qatar. And one of the things that I'll repeat to our product team all the time is we want to make Qatar known for innovation, not just Snoonu known for innovation. Because I think when people like myself in Canada who don't know very much about the region or the technology that's coming from it, we want to have done things that are so interesting that even somebody who's in Canada or North America knows Qatar, Snoonu, they're doing a lot of innovative things. So we want to be somebody who's really, pushing the envelope in terms of the value prop that we're offering to our customers.
Okay. And what key products or services are at the core of Snoonu's offering, and how are you guys actually making sure that you're meeting the always changing customer needs?
Yeah, it's a long list of things that we now offer. So when you look at Snoonu at the core is we've got this delivery technology or delivery platform. And what we're trying to do is connect more and more services on top of it right now. So we do restaurants, which is a very typical use case of people want to order restaurant food. You want it to show up to your house in 30 minutes or less. We have what we call Snoomart, which is basically our own store that we've built. We work with all the major grocery chains, as well as a lot of the small, unique grocery vendors. So we do grocery delivery as well as specialty stores. We've made a big bet into what we call marketplace, which is really, you can imagine the Amazon type experience delivered to your door in 30 minutes. And I'm actually amazed. This is something I wish I would have had in Canada or North America, but it's amazing how often I find these opportunities where I'm like, oh, I actually do need this in 30 minutes. There's little things like even the headphones that I got for this podcast. Last night I was like, oh, I know that the microphone on the corded ones are better than my AirPods I usually use. I'll get them on Snoonu and they'll be here 30 minutes from now. Or I've had other occasions where, I move here and I'm doing laundry and carrying my wet clothes to hang them up in the spare room. And I'm like, why do I not have a laundry basket at my house? Before the next load is complete, it's like I've got a laundry basket there to take things out of the washing machine to hang them up. So you start to find that there's all of these uses or all of these occasions that you never imagined in your life where next day is actually not fast enough. 30 minutes is what I actually need for delivery. And then we do flowers, pharmacy, gifting. We do delivery as a service. We have pickup ordering, drive-through, homegrown. So we have all of these other categories that we've basically added on top of this core 30-minute delivery technology that we've built.
Okay. And how do you view the evolution of the industry in the Middle East and globally? Because of course, Middle East is a very special region, and I think, and I'm not sure how in how many places you can actually get all these things that you mentioned within 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's it's interesting because, as I said, I've now seen this in some way in 34 countries. So if I compare. North America is an interesting case where when you look at food delivery and grocery delivery, it's all very individual companies and individual experiences. So it's like, if you want your food delivered, you go to DoorDash or Skip. If you want groceries delivered, you're going to go to Instacart. If you want to see your reviews about a restaurant or the food options, you go to Yelp. If you want to book a reservation at one of those, you go to OpenTable. If you want to order something through e-commerce, you're going to go to Amazon. So there's sort of like all of these specialists, but from a customer perspective, like, of course, if I want to do a look at the reviews of a restaurant, or I want to be able to place a pickup order or a delivery order, it makes so much sense for it to be within one app. Or even I want my preferences and my customer information to be known to even the marketplace world, so that you can make better recommendations and you can help me make better purchasing decisions. So it's interesting. And I ask myself all the time, like, why North America has grown up in all these individual silos when I look at it from a consumer or customer perspective. And, there's so much value that I get out of having this individual super app that can fulfill all these different needs. And when you look at China or the Asia and those markets, they've really all grown up around this concept of a super app as well. So it's just interesting to see that depending on where you are in the world, it seems to be specialist apps versus super apps. But especially here, we're seeing that the super app value prop is resonating a lot with customers versus the individual specific use case app.
Okay. So of course, I think it's clear after what you've explained as well that you guys place a strong emphasis on user experience and you're user centric, definitely. And could you share some recent innovations or product features that have enhanced customer journey on your side?
Yeah. I can share a couple of the recent ones we've launched. So one of them we did recently was video reels. So one of the insights that we were having around the office, and when we talked to customers and said, how do you find out where the best restaurant to eat is in the city? And they go like, well, I asked somebody who's a local expert. I asked my friend, and then we asked ourselves the question, well, why aren't we the best place in order to come to find who the best restaurants are? We've got partnerships with all of them. So how do we take those recommendations of the things we love and the places we like to eat and surface those in some interesting format to our customers? Because I think one of the core principles on winning is whoever helps the customer make purchasing decisions better is going to be somebody who's going to likely win. So we basically created this video reel format. We had like a studio running nonstop in the office where we were ordering all of our favorite items, shooting these videos, and then turning them into basically a reel or a TikTok type experience or a Reels type experience where you can click through, but every item you're seeing on the video reel, it's something we've tried and it's something we like. And we're hoping that by doing that, it's like, these are our, you know, if you go way, way back in time to like the Blockbuster days, it's like, here's our staff picks for the next thing that you should try. So that was something that we did that was sort of an interesting introduction into video format, because we'd only done image format up to that point. Another one that we did for the market here was group ordering. So we're the first in the region that does group ordering, and it's something that exists in other parts of the world. But our insight was a lot of the households here are really large household sizes. So you have people of 8 or more living together in the same place. And another interesting thing is that you actually have more smartphones here than people. So it's like everyone in Doha has a smartphone. Many people have 2 smartphones. And so we know that everybody in the household has a smartphone, and the way that you typically have to order when you're ordering with your family is everybody passes the phone around. And that's an annoying experience. Or even in the office, when we want to try a new restaurant, we're passing the phone around the office to all pick our items. And it's a slow ordering process. It takes a lot of time. Somebody has to be in charge of that order. So what we did is basically created the feature where you can share a link with all your friends, and then all your friends can add the item to the cart, and then one person checks out. So it just makes it such an easier process versus, you know, passing the phone or sending pictures or somebody needing to walk around to everybody to create the order. So that's another interesting one that we've done recently. Actually, one that we've just launched today is on top ordering and the order tracker. So this is first place we've announced it. But it gives you the ability when you're waiting on your restaurant order or another one to place an order from our Snoonu Mart. And the insight there is like, you're already waiting. We have the ability to get the Snoonu Mart order to you as fast or even faster than your restaurant order. And we usually all have the problem of when we order grocery, a lot of the time it's top-up items. It's like, I'm out of eggs, I need more milk, there's a snack item that I want, or even I want drinks to go along with this restaurant order that I've placed. And giving customers the ability to place a Snoonu Mart order, and we offer free delivery in that moment as well. So it's just another way of helping you use your time more efficiently. So it's like, you're already waiting for an order. Why not do your kitchen top up at the same time that you're waiting on this order, top up some of your house supplies that you're looking for. So those are a few of the things. And then, I mean, we've got a long list. I won't go over the full roadmap meeting that we do all the time, but those are some of the problems that we identified for customers and the solutions we came up with to solve them.
Perfect. Thank you very much for sharing that. And we're eagerly waiting for all these features. And how do you think technology in general is driving companies in quick commerce to keep up with customer expectations? I mean, you partly answered that question, but are there any features that are, that you eagerly would like to have at Snoonu's app that you believe are driven by technology and could be a game changer?
Yeah, I think technology is everything in ours. And when you look, like, the bar is constantly raised, because every time a new technology comes out, like, ChatGPT or all of these new AI technologies, we're all sort of just scrambling around trying to figure out, like, how do we adopt these, or which problems do we have existing in our business where we can now use this new tool and maybe solve the problem in a more creative way? Or is there a problem we never had a solution to solve that now has opened up? But I was even thinking about some of the technology trends where, I don't think it's obvious to us today how all these things are even going to impact our business. And I'm probably in the same place as a ton of other people going, like, well, how does generative AI and all of these things change our business? sort of the same way when I go back to like 10 years ago when I was in the telecom world, we were talking about cloud, big data, mobile first, Internet of Things. And it wasn't obvious to anyone at the time that when you combine those four things together, you get Uber and the explosion of food delivery apps. Because it's like all those are technologies, our business wasn't possible without those things. It's like there's no way you could make a 30-minute on-demand delivery fleet efficient enough to make this business model viable without like the ability to process tons of data off of the network about where every courier is in every moment. And if you didn't have these crazy optimization models operating on top of your network to figure out who's the right courier to pick up the next order, where am I anticipating demand's going to be 15 minutes from now, all of these things are sort of like science fiction 10 years ago. But now today we almost take it for granted that we just have, everybody has a smartphone. We have the ability to listen to data about the position of the couriers from those smartphones. We have the ability to process that data every 10 or 15 seconds to optimize things. So when you look at it, it's like 10 years ago, it wasn't obvious. Now it is. I think now we're looking at things like generative AI, and it's not obvious to us yet what the real value or the way we combine it with all our existing technology would be. But we're putting a lot of thought into it. But we don't have the answer yet. So I can't share it with everybody here. I wish I could. And I hope one of your future guests can, because I want to know that as well.
We'll see about that. Can you share how you leverage data and AI to maybe somehow predict the customer needs and to improve your operational efficiency?
Yeah, I think when we talk about personalization and AI and all those things, one of the things that I always come back to in those meetings is you'll show up and everybody wants to talk about AWS personalized, or we're going to use this new model, or we want to move over to vector personalization or embeddings, or it becomes this like very technical conversation almost immediately. So you say personalization and everybody wants to jump down into the technology. And I say this all the time to the product managers on our team, like the number one sin of product management is not spending enough time on the problem space. So when we think about data and AI, the thing it always has to come back to is how does this help a customer? And I think a lot of the things that you can do for personalization don't require these really complex models. They're even just like remembering my preferences. So it's like I order coffee every day and I order coffee black. But every day the app asks me, how would you like your coffee configured? Or, I'm probably confessing too much about my eating habits, but I'll order chicken nuggets from McDonald's and I always have sweet and sour sauce, not barbecue sauce. But every time I interact with the app, it makes me make that decision again. So I think there's a lot of things when you look at personalization. There's the basics of just like, remember what I've already done with you and make it easy for me to do that again. Because people, we repeat the same behavior over and over, and like, don't make me go through the long process every time that I just want to come and order my morning coffee. And then I think there's the next level, which is actually taking that information and helping you find things you didn't even know you wanted, or helping surface interesting options. And of course, we play in the personalization space. But I think it all comes back to the problem statement of how do you help a customer make a decision about what product's going to satisfy their needs better. And I think when we look at how all of the technology of, using video, using better reviews or expert recommendations, using AI, even using some of the tools that are available to us with generative AI of making better descriptions or improving the imagery, improving how I can perceive something through an e-commerce experience. Because, if I go in a store, I can hold the product in my hands. The hardest thing is in e-commerce, it's like I don't get to hold the product. I don't get to try it on. So how do you help me bridge that gap of getting as close to that in-store experience, but still, saving the time and giving the incredible optionality that we can give to a customer, because we can have a bigger inventory than that sort of in-person world.
Right. Absolutely. And you've already mentioned that there's a number of partnerships that you have in the region, and that you're using that as well to provide, for instance, with with references or some recommendations. Can you talk about it a little bit more and talk about some of the partnerships that have helped Snoonu expand or differentiate in the market?
Yeah, well, I think our entire business is partnerships, because when you look at, we hold a very small amount of our inventory. We don't prepare the food that you order. If you're ordering from a grocery store, it's not our inventory. So I think one of the core principles we try to build in is, if we want to have great partners, we need to be a great partner for those companies. And I think when I first maybe entered this space, I think a little too much of the thinking was, how do we get every last dollar off of the table, as far as how do we optimize the earnings of couriers to every penny that we can pull out to get the outcome we want, or how do we get restaurant partners to invest even more and more and more into the network. But I think more the way that we think about this problem is, how do we create good partnerships where if you're a merchant on our platform, or if you're a driver on our platform, you're going to have a very good business as well. And we're going to try and do more things to help you optimize your business, help you increase your sales, help you increase the profitability of you operating on us, versus, Snoonu just being the only player that wins. So I think more when we think about partnerships, it's like, how do we create more and more win-win situations for us and for our partners, versus trying to be we're the only one who gets all of the value out of this e-commerce and on-demand delivery space and everything. So I hope that answers the question enough, but we have thousands and thousands of partners. We have lots of technology companies that we partner with as well, because we want other technology players to grow up in the region too, and to have access to our customer base. So I think we really look at ourselves as, we're building an ecosystem, and everybody around this ecosystem should win.
Okay, that sounds great. And if we may focus a little bit about the future now, then I'm curious, what are the biggest opportunities that you can see for growth within the next 2 to 3 years for both Snoonu and the quick commerce sector?
Well, I think one of the ones that's pretty obvious if you look at what we're doing is tagging more services on. And there's even some problems that we've identified in the region that I can't quite talk about yet, but there's some very big problems that we're working on internally. You can wait for some announcements out of Snoonu about new lines of business and things that we'll get into in time.
Okay.
But we're basically thinking about, how do we leverage the key capabilities we have, and how do we give more product, more service offerings to our customers. And I think even for some of the things that the technology will change, but I think some of the core problems for customers and everyone remain the same, which are things like that we've talked about, of how do you help me as a customer find the next great product on your platform. And when I look at the way things are changing in that space, I actually see some of the things like what TikTok's doing with Marketplace or Reels, and those being potentially disruptive to a lot of the traditional e-commerce companies. Because you think about, in the olden days, having images or having a complete catalog of images and having reviews and those things, they were game-changing ideas at the time, because they helped the customer to make a better purchasing decision. And I think when you start to look to the future, it's like, if I watch a video reel of somebody describing a product they really like, or a product they really don't like, that gives me a lot more information and a lot more confidence in the purchasing decision than an image and a review can give. So I look at all of those things for just answering the question of, how do we help give a customer better information about a purchase decision. And I mean, I can't buy a product without things like Wirecutter and that world that help you have confidence when you're buying something online, I think is a trend that never ends. And the technology that becomes available will just raise the bar and customer expectations on what information you're giving them for their e-commerce decisions. And then the core things of, people will always want it faster. They'll always want better prices. those things will never change, and technology will just help us to grow the value prop around those core things customers care about.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's very interesting, because I think these days we're finally working with the users that have never lived without the internet or without the smartphones and etc. So indeed, this generation is expecting everything to happen online and super, super fast.
Yeah, like you're starting to see that, and even some of the Gen Zs coming into the workplace is interesting, because yesterday or earlier this week, I was talking to one of our younger employees, and I was describing a commercial to them, and it sort of just got like a blank stare of like, what do you mean you just stream all of your content? There's no commercials in your content. And it was like, oh yeah, I guess they've like grown up in a very different world, and like even weren't there for the earliest days of the internet, where you used to order something, wait 3 weeks for it to show up. And it sort of felt like a gift, because you couldn't even remember what you ordered.
Right, indeed. That's true. That is a complete change, but it sounds like a very interesting times ahead of us.
Yeah.
And when you're looking at even more into the future, what trends do you think will shape the future of quick commerce? And here I don't mean like the horizon of 2 to 3 years, maybe like 10 years. I mean, who knows, right? But then what would be your bet?
Oh, that's yeah. I wish I had a crystal ball, but like a lot of those things, I think will demand. Who knows? Maybe more of a service experience comes to it. Of if I want clothes or something, making the experience of trying on different options at home, having the ability to return those, or even your ability to see what different clothes will look like on you. I think you see these things in furniture all the time, where it's like I can actually start to view a room and see how the furniture is going to look in your space. So it basically bridges the gap of I no longer have to imagine these things. And I think even other things where when we look at, I don't have the best ones. This is always the one where you get put on a spot to make future predictions, and none of them will come true. But I think even when you look at what are some of the services that the most sort of like wealthy people in the world have. So if I look at something like purchasing clothing, you would have a stylist, or you would do color consultancies or things like that to know these are the products you should wear. This is the gaps that we should fill into your wardrobe. So I think the more technology can help give you that sort of experience that the richest people in the world are getting today, and can democratize those sort of things for everyone, I think will create much more interesting e-commerce experiences. So it's like, help me make better decisions, help me give me access to expertise that I don't have, and I'm never going to have, and basically like just, you know, the better it helps me make a decision, and the more satisfied I am with the decisions you help me make, the better. So that's about all I can give you. That who knows what the future will look like. We're just kind of like working 1 week at a time.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for sharing that. We'll see about that in 10 years. I'm really curious how all the shopping experience will look like then. But Matthew, thank you very much for today's conversation and for all the insights that you provided us with. It was a great pleasure, and have a great day on your side. Thank you very much.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks so much for having me on. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.